used to think my father was a hard man, the kind who never really saw me, and it took me more than 80 years to realize I was wrong. My name is Walter Hayes, and I'm 82 years old, and the truth I can't shake now is this. I didn't understand my father until the day I caught myself becoming him. When I was a boy, my father didn't talk much. He worked long hours, came home tired, and carried the kind of silence that filled the whole house. I used to watch him sit at the dinner table, eating slowly, saying almost nothing, and I remember thinking that he just didn't care enough to speak. My mother would try to keep conversation going, asking about his day, telling small stories, but he'd just nod or give a short answer, and that was it. As a child, you don't have much patience for silence. You take it personally. I remember wanting him to ask me how school was, to tell me he was proud of me, to show something, anything that felt like warmth, but he didn't, or at least not in a way I could understand back then. So I grew up with this quiet belief that my father was distant, maybe even cold. Not cruel, just unavailable, and I promised myself more than once that if I ever had a family of my own I would be different. And for a while I thought I was. I got married in my late 20s, had a son not long after. I remember holding him for the first time, feeling this overwhelming sense that I had a chance to do things better. I talked more than my father ever did. I played with him when I could, showed up to his school events, tried to be present in ways I had longed for as a boy. But life has a way of quietly shifting your intentions. Work became demanding. Responsibilities piled up. There were bills to pay, problems to solve, long days that stretched into longer nights. And somewhere along the way, without noticing it at first, I started coming home the same way my father used to. Tired, distracted, carrying the weight of things I didn't know how to explain. My son would talk to me, tell me about his day, and I'd listen, but not fully. My mind would drift to unfinished work, to worries I hadn't sorted out yet. I'd nod, give short answers, thinking I was still there, still engaged, but looking back now, I can see the distance growing, little by little. At the time, I didn't think of myself as distant. I thought of myself as responsible. I was providing, doing what needed to be done. I told myself that was enough, that he would understand one day. That's what my father must have thought too. Years passed faster than I expected. My son grew up, became a man, built a life of his own. We stayed in touch, of course. There were visits, phone calls, holidays, but something between us always felt slightly out of reach, like a conversation that never quite went deep enough. I noticed it, but I didn't know how to fix it, and if I'm being honest, I didn't try as hard as I should have. Then not too long ago, there was a moment I can't forget. My son was sitting across from me at the table, not unlike how I used to sit across from my father. He was talking, telling me about something going on in his life, something that clearly mattered to him. And I remember listening, nodding, giving a few short responses, thinking I was doing what I was supposed to do. But then he stopped talking. He looked at me for a second, and there was something in his eyes I hadn't seen before. Not anger, not even disappointment exactly. It was more like recognition. And he said very calmly, "You know, Dad, sometimes it feels like you're not really here." It wasn't said to hurt me. That's what made it worse. It was said like a simple truth. And in that moment, Something shifted inside me, because I had heard those words before, not out loud, but in my own thoughts, decades earlier, sitting at a different table, looking at a different man. I saw it all at once, the way I used to watch my father, the way I used to feel unseen, the quiet frustration I carried for years without fully understanding it. And suddenly I wasn't just remembering my father anymore. I was seeing him, not as the distant figure from my childhood, but as a man sitting where I was now, tired, burdened, trying in his own way, even if it didn't come out right. I realized that all those nights he sat in silence, it wasn't because he didn't care. It was because he didn't know how to say what he felt. Maybe he thought providing was the same as loving. Maybe he believed that showing up every day, no matter how exhausted he was enough. And maybe that was the only way he knew how to love. I had spent most of my life judging him for what he didn't give me, without ever understanding what he was carrying. And the hardest part is, he's not here anymore. I can't sit across from him now and tell him that I finally understand. I can't ask him what he felt, or tell him what I needed back then. That conversation is gone, and it's not coming back. All I'm left with is this quiet realization that came too late for him, and almost too late for me. After my son said those words, I didn't respond right away. I just sat there, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time, like I was seeing myself clearly for the first time. I told him I was sorry, not in a dramatic way, just honestly. I told him I thought I had been present, but maybe I hadn't been, not in the way that mattered, and I asked him to keep talking. It felt like a small moment, but it wasn't. It was the first time I chose to stay fully there, to really listen without drifting away. I don't know if it fixes everything. Life doesn't work that neatly, but I do know it changed something in me. These days I think about my father differently. I don't see a distant man anymore. I see someone who did what he could with what he knew, even if it fell short of what I needed. And I see myself in that same light. We like to believe we'll do better than the people who came before us. Sometimes we do, because one day you might finally see them clearly, and they might not be there to see you back.